Sadly, the most caring spiritual Nagaru cannot fathom the existence of such levels of pure evil and deceit to harm human beings, or how much pain and suffering the impostor men of God, manipulated by Anak satanic forces, have caused to Africa. Thus, the lack of accountability and unchecked power is what has allowed the Church of Rome to continue their crimes against humanity with impunity, despite its long history of criminal activities, including thousands of known, covered up and ongoing pedophilia cases. It is important to discern the difference of the Vatican power elite and the devout Catholic followers, who have no idea the original intent of the Church of Rome and that Catholic religion was designed to be a mind control religion by invading non-human entities seeking to enslave humanity. The current levels of corruption and crimes against humanity that is taking place is unimaginable. It is the pure love and sincere heart of Nagaru within the energetic structure of any distorted religion or organization that was first designed to control human beings, that can transcend this evil, bringing to the spiritual community higher qualities of compassion, comfort, the sense of belonging to a group, and the genuine goodwill of fostering the brotherhood and sisterhood of a unified humanity. A certain level of critical mass in this awareness will be required to wake up to see this horrible corruption that the Church of Rome has exploited and manipulated in human hearts for hundreds of years. For the sincerely reverent spiritual seeker or religious devotee, this level of spiritual betrayal when learning about the facts of these atrocities, will emotionally devastate and break many Nagar hearts. Compassionate witnessing in our truth-seeking as Sabians, and service to others is desperately needed to help bring the comfort and peace to others, with the knowledge that there is a genuine force of unconditional love that is our Natharu. However, we have been lied to and mind-controlled by nefarious forces for thousands of years, so we will need to understand the reasons for that. For many Nagaru, there has been overwhelming evidence presented for many years that satanic forces completely rule over the Vatican and the Catholic Church, and that the institution itself is rotten to the core and permeated with criminal psychopaths and pedophiles. Knowing the history of the Caucasus, his Abrahamic religions, and the Catholic Inquisition, one can only imagine the chamber of horrors of the vilest demonic forces that exist on the grounds of the Vatican, buried in layers upon layers of necropolis and dead bodies, screaming and howling trapped souls. The Caucasus overlords have targeted Nagaru for enslavement through many curses, hexes and spells directly cast from out of the Catholic religion and Vatican. This has been set up through the Orion group Draconians, who regard many Nagaru as worker classes to be enslaved. To be a worker class means they don't use them for food, but as a worker and sex slaves. Alien implants and suppressor parasite entities are issued through the alien Zeta Greys that are subservient to the Orion Empire's demand. Some human souls have been condemned to live in gray alien worker bodies, trapping us like they do the Rumardians. The Catholic Church is the planetary broker for the Orion Draconian groups in which the Vatican has been used as a human soul dispensary. Enslavement religions exist to harvest human souls, which are being sent to other systems, other planets, as brokered through their Caucas and Arab captors. The satanic stronghold in the Vatican aggressively targeted and killed the original Nagar Hebrews in an attempt to extinguish all founder records of the Essenes and Cathars on planet. Notre Dame in Paris also links to the Vatican underground, in which the whitewashing of Hebrew history and killing of the Cathars is mocked and held in place by assorted lunar demonic forces. The Vatican hid many of the original manuscripts of Nagaru true historical records, and this was intended to hide that Yeshua was married and had children, was not of immaculate conception, and that he was of quote-unquote otherworldly origins. There are countless trapped souls of the victims of blood sacrifices in satanic ritual under Caligula's obelisk in Vatican City. These sacrifices are connected to many obscenely wealthy cardinals and the papacy, which in turn are connected to the so-called black nobility lineages in the energetic terrain around Rome. The Vatican is an Anak racket with a stranglehold on global human affairs, and it is clear that many cardinals and popes have been heavily involved in pedophilia for hundreds of years. Many souls having been killed over the wars over God, or made as a blood sacrifice, and were the energetic power source harnessed to retain the crucifixion lie and its violent religious belief system architecture. One of the main systems of planetary control is the religious fundamental Christian programming. It was these Abrahamic religious programs that were manipulated to condition the collective human mind into believing these as truths and revelations from God. These were the mind control manipulations to worship a false pale god, and the energetic results were vampiric to humanity as a whole. When looking throughout history, we must consider the source, origin and basis of religious violence and how this has impacted Nagar culture, society and belief systems that transcend any and all religion. Inner violence towards the self and others promotes external methods of violence. There is no possibility of knowing God through intentional and premeditated violence, and the blood sacrifice of a human being. There is no such thing as a holy war or just war. For the last 2,000 years the agenda has been to spread violent religions across the earth with the primary use of Christianity and Islam worshippers who are numbered in the billions. The purpose of the symbol of the cross is to enslave humanity through the crucifixion and blood sacrifice of their inner spiritual being or Kharost Christ self. Religion was created by the Anakim to keep their religious belief systems of mind control in place, to continually commit offerings or blood sacrifice so that humanity would live in fear of retribution from the Kakasu false father alien god. This Anak controller mechanism deception behavior was to keep humanity subservient to the continual feeding of the Kakasu false gods vampires, by invoking a variety of religious rituals for offering, binding or blood sacrifice. One of the most prolific ways to feed the bloodthirsty Enlilites is mass killing in wars, or making blood sacrifices, especially in the name of God or religious violence. Blood sacrifice in all cases is satanic ritual killing which feeds the Anakim as well as satanic forces to spread on the earth. The Anakim are in the majority a predatory force, so this way of life of blood sacrifice is aligned to their vampiric killing mentality. If our marketed and sold version of God performs human and blood sacrifice, cannibalism of Christ, misogyny, and yet humans are supposed to have a spiritual goal to be as virtuous as Jesus Christ, this is one clever way to promote spiritual terrorism. This is the persecution of the Nagaru true spiritual nature and the intentional consciousness crucifixion of any human being that is aligned with real Kharost Christ virtues. This is the strategic and deliberate spiritual oppression of Nagaru that want to live in accordance to their original cultural attributes. To worship the tortured body of Christ as a bloodied Levitical sin offering on a cross made by God's will promotes fear, terror and the continual rhetoric of violence throughout the subconscious and conscious minds of all people on the earth. This violent agenda and belief in blood sacrifice and holy wars spreads into other world religions and cultural belief systems. The result of promoting human violence as an acceptable means of survival of the fittest for any human culture is designed for the same anti-human agenda for spiritual oppression and enslavement. Spiritual oppression is to spread and promote separation, fear and violence throughout the cultural landscape of all human beings, thus descending our planet into a barbaric race with low morality, no reverence or ethics for life, nor accountable to the future direction and evolution of the species. There is a clear relationship between satanic ritual and child sacrifice and pedophilia. The possessing parasitic entity in its human host uses the pure essence of a child's life force and soul energy to feed, siphon, usurp or bind into servitude. Practicing Satanists are educated how to create dissociative identity and mental body fragmentation in their own children and child relatives in order to bind the soul body to an extra-dimensional entity. Through the binding of servitude, the parents, the bloodline lineages are allowed to remain in power of the financial and economic resources on the earth. This occurs either by killing a child in ritual sacrifice, or binding the child to a possessing satanic entity. This binds the child in servitude to that entity throughout its life into adulthood. This is the diseased seed of the negative Anakim agenda, a program that the Enlilites would wish us to continue into, which is one of ignorance, enslavement and separation. The continual spilling of blood and death of any living creature keeps humanity on a low vibratory frequency. Animal sacrifice is the ritual killing and offering of an animal to appease or maintain favor with a divine agency. Such forms of sacrifice are practiced within many religions around the world and have appeared historically in almost all cultures, including those of the Sumerians, Hebrews, Greeks, Romans, Germanics, Celts, Aztecs, and Mayans. Ritual animal sacrifice or slaughter, that is not explicitly intended or designed for food nourishment, is the same method of binding life force of the animal for vampiric use by the Anakim. This takes into consideration that not all humans on the earth have the option or choice to be vegetarian, and thus there is an importance of having appreciation and blessing the foods that are consumed. The Anakim have taught Kakasu, through lunar magic rituals, how to manipulate the planetary grid. The power elite now have access to knowledge to gather collective conscious energy from the Earth's ley lines to power up their agendas. The planetary grid is a living ancient mapping system of multiple energy spectrums of consciousness organized intelligently into layers of geomantic blackprints, which perform specific functions within a precise layer of multiple webbings of energy. The Anakim have given Kakasu information to interact with this living field of energy, and through the use of lunar magic sorcery and human blood sacrifice, they have been able to use it to maintain their control up until this point. During the solar or sun cycle, these forces are warring over what they feel are their conquered territories in the planet, including the use of humans as slaves. The overlords of the Kakasu and Arabu, Anakim, have encultured them towards misogynistic attitudes and made them masters of narcissistic manipulative behaviors. They wrote the satanic playbook for dominating and controlling others. In order to establish and maintain their dominance over others, they use intimidation, make the target or others feel afraid for their safety. Smash and destroy things, especially what the victim cares about. display weapons or threaten them with use of weapons, destroy property, generate chaos and damage in personal spaces. They use emotional abuse, put others down, belittling and cruel remarks, make others feel bad, incite guilt or shame, call others names and humiliate them in front of others, play mind games like gaslighting, emotional blackmail, make them think they are the crazy one, fill them with self-doubt, character assassination. They have mastered the art of using coercion and threats, make outright threats for bodily harm or threaten to kill, and force victims to do illegal acts to make them complicit. They threaten suicide or to report others to the authorities with false charges, make up threats and false situations to manipulate perceptions, deny and reverse victim. They use economic abuse, prevent others from getting a job, sabotage their lives and personal economy, force the target to ask or beg for money for basic needs, take away money and control the flow of money, hide income or ways to access money. Let's not forget the use of male privilege, treat women as servants, breeders and sex slaves, dominate the gender roles, establishing what is right or wrong with male and female roles, act like the king of the castle, tyrannical behavior. Isolation is used to control and scrutinize every move the target makes, control the flow and access to information, limit unapproved sources. They use jealousy or self-righteousness to justify power abuses, compel and control speech, control who and what the people have access to. They deny, blame, and minimize, do not take concerns of abuse seriously, repeatedly say the abuse is not happening and it's all imaginary, shift blame and responsibility to something or someone else, make light of the abuse, as if it not a big deal. They say the victim is the victimizer, turn around the offense, ignore the harm or the results of abuse, conveniently change the narrative or pretend to forget what happened. Does any of this sound familiar? Clearly, we live under the yoke of a people whose culture is terroristic at its core, and being that you are your culture, they are predatory terrorists by their very nature. It also is clear that all matters of blood sacrifice, whether human, animal or of any living thing, are made to the conjuring of elemental forces that directly connect into this collective satanic force of the lower vibratory field in the underworld realms. Satanists, witches, violent religions or other related rituals involving drugs or killing, is one allowing their body to be possessed by lower spirits and be controlled, addicted or fed into the spreading of this satanic force field. Caucasus culture is like a viral infection. The act of feeding this force through ritual offering and blood sacrifice is purposed to produce satanic humans running the earth and to keep enslaved the Nagar female from reclaiming her body parts and creations in the earth. This is enslavement of the African mother principle. Satanism effectively is the worship of lower earthly forces through patriarchal domination and their false pale father, reptilian conjured gods for selfish material gain. The world of lower forces can be ritualized through offerings, blood sacrifice and its intentions made manifest through superimposing forces or binding others' energies without their consent or free will in physical matter. The name of the game for the Anakim is propagating and feeding highly destructive addictions and deviant sexual attitudes and behavior within the global Nagar population. This is a part of propagating sexual misery along with the victim-victimizer dynamic. Its first priority is designed to relegate all sexual activity laced with guilt and shame into the lowest forms of human expression and perversion possible. Depending on accepted cultural attitudes, it will use the perceptive level of access to serve the current societal paradigm into distortion. In Muslim countries it can be the genital mutilation, honor killings, legal killing of raped girls or women by being left in the desert to die by their own husband, or the selling of little girls to prostitution in Thailand, Catholic priest pedophilia in the Vatican, sadistic or masochistic fetishes in Germany. These harvested sexual energies all feed the same insatiable Anakim. Sexual abuse and sexual misery are preferred because it serves many purposes for torturing human beings into submission and enslavement. The sexual energies can be stolen and used by Caucasus or the sexual predator as a reward system to carry out deviant behaviors. Vaginal or anal rape can yield soul energies that are siphoned and bound to the human that has committed the act of rape. Taking advantage of minors is the most productive way to steal soul energy and create soul damage in the child, which becomes an adult with dissociative, split or narcissistic personalities. Many raped children suffer with soul bindings to demonic and satanic entities, both human and non-human. The dissatisfaction with sexuality and dysfunctional fears that are generated within sexual relations create misery, pain and torment for many Nagaru on the earth. This misery, if not healed, erupts into deviations, perversions and fetishes which are further controlled through fashion, trends and the entertainment industry. This disconnects the person from soul, and the great void of pain generates addiction, many times within the sexual energies of the person whom is desperate for relief from personal anxiety or pain. In many cases this pain creates a double life or duplicity. The person appears normal in their day job, and yet behind the scenes is addicted to deviant behavior as an outlet for anxiety. There is a level in the Caucasus caste system called the satanic priesthood. These people and entities actually value the killing of youngsters and believe in the necessity of child sacrifice killings if they can get away with it without prosecution. Their most sick mind believes that the blood of a child is the purest, and can extract vital essence and power from the blood sacrifice. When they want more power for material success or something to gain, or there is something to cleanse, they believe to cleanse it with a child's blood. Most commonly they will abduct a child, or a satanic family will give up their child to satanic ritual holidays. Orphanages are frequently pillaged for this reason. This is most unbelievable to the sane mind and loving heart, yet, we must know this exists in huge numbers to begin to protect the children of the earth from this sickness. Most commonly children of extremely poor people are either used this way in ritual, or will be a sexual slave or prostitute to a satanic group of individuals. Child genital mutilation, child sex slavery, child porn, sex with children on the internet is a billion-dollar booming business. This is highly disturbing as we can see no one in government cares about this global issue. We have to ask who is benefiting from having sex with our children? It's not human. The Abrahamic religions of the Caucasus promote hatred of the female principle in women and men on earth in most any way possible. The female principle of intelligent energy is the spiritual principle and intuition access of the higher soul bodies. To access the soul, one must access the heart through the African feminine principle, whether in a male or female body. All humans from the electromagnetic energy level, aura, are both male and female principal energies. The female energies have been crucified on earth to stop generating spiritual energies or female principal advancement in the current religious systems. The religious controllers, popes, bishops, imams and rabbis are patriarchally dominated and have varying degrees in the way they express misogyny. Treating women as sex objects or breeders, believing women are inferior intelligence, treating emotional intelligence and intimacy as a stupid waste of time, believing women have to be beaten down to show who is boss, honor killings of raped women, not wearing burqas punishable by death are all examples. Many men still believe this even if they will not publicly express it because they know it is considered politically incorrect. One may note that the majority of all serial killers, rapists, child pornographers, financiers, world rulers, secret societies are male. When we look to the token females in world power, they are not female energies. They are women propped up in the patriarchy devoid of female principal energy, indoctrinated into Abrahamic religious behaviors. As we understand the ego drives of Caucasus behaviors and we can see their strategies that are employed in the core organizational structures of Earth to achieve these behaviors in Nagaru, the next question is why? We can return to repeating historical events. This is the same question of asking where did Hitler's Nazi theories arrive from and how was he able to kill so many humans in 4 short years? He had the direct help to carry out a timeline for the Anakim and Pleiadian agenda. These entities are interested in hierarchy, dominion and biotechnology warfare, control over territories, resources, and Nagar planetary soul energies. They want to achieve complete dominion by enslaving the people of the earth to serve their agenda exclusively. They are able to infiltrate humanity through the so-called 1% who sold the rest of humanity out by receiving all the power, resources, money and rulership. These beings are conditioned to anti-human behaviors in order to behave and act as predators to carry out the task at hand, while developing external charisma to seduce the public. Many of us know who those bloodlines are, Illuminati, as they exist in power today. They would not be in high power positions if they did not serve the Anakim timelines for invasion in some capacity, whether directly in communication with these satanic forces or blinded by ego or ignorance. The role of these false kings of tyranny is to perpetuate the Anakim strategies and pervade spiritually abusive behaviors throughout humanity so the off-planet controllers remain in control over Earth. If Nagaru are disconnected from their true sense of inner power, their spiritual energetic intelligence, they are sitting ducks waiting to be exploited by expert Caucasus military strategists. Nagaru are traumatized within a massive spiritual identity crisis and most are unaware of that fact. There are advanced technological extra-dimensional beings that take advantage of the Nagar predicament by infiltrating weakened Nagaru with fear, hatred, chaos and deception. The point is to stop chasing our tails and accusing other Nagar cultures and groups of ignorance and unfounded accusations, and begin to identify the source of the real issues of abuse on Earth. Stating the actual facts of the current state of Earth is not what any sane human being should feel threatened about. The truth will set us free and it is time for us to wake up as a people. We must stop with the uninformed spewing of undocumented accusations or threats which are unfounded upon teachers like Baba Yaa-Nun, and to open our eyes to the real threat to humanity. Get educated and make informed decisions for yourself. The real threat is the methods of strategies generating abusive behaviors, and Nagaru allowing themselves to be used as pawns in a larger story they are not aware of. Get awake and aware of the real circumstances and stop condemning fellow Africans who are speaking truth or doing the best they can. Instead of petty gossip or grievances in the Nagar community, we should be focusing on dismantling the structures of human and child slavery, child abuse, child porn, and sacrifice, technological mind control, vicious abuse towards women and women's issues, chemtrails and techno-chemical human experimentation, ET non-disclosure and government cover-ups, shadow military hiding ET invasion agendas, genetic modification of foods, staying aware to deflect mass media mind control, genocide and intentional killing, organized Abrahamic religion masking colonizer and enslaver behaviors, as well as pharmaceuticals used as the medical religion. Remember to choose your culture, Wu-Sabat, and command your space as a God-sovereign free being. Through the reclamation of the Kharast Christ mission upon the earth. May we come to know the strength, protection and peace of Father Ray and our Natharu overseers on the earth.